Hi, welcome back to Podcast by Mobiz, where we peel back the layer of modern technology with the expert shaping its future. So, can you explain to our audience what is rate limiting and what is token limiting and what is the difference between them?
The rate limiting is like manager is telling cashier, serve only 10 people every minute. Token limiting is like the way barista makes coffee, pouring it out drop by drop. I would say the future lies in intelligent orchestration and it's an exciting opportunity to be in.
So, a language model does not output a response all at once. There is an iterative process. Now, as I mentioned that token limiting was our friend. And this helps us in building applications which are user friendly and the user is not frustrated waiting for the response. Hi, welcome back to Podcast by Mobiz, where we peel back the layer of modern technology with the expert shaping its future. The topic of our discussion today is rate limiting and token limiting. My name is Faizan. I'm an AI engineer at Mobiz, and joining me is Shaaf Abdullah, who is a senior AI engineer at Mobiz. So, Shaaf, I'm going to ask you a very simple question so that our audience can understand what the topic is about, and then we'll move forward. So, can you explain to our audience what is rate limiting and what is token limiting and what is the difference between them?
Absolutely. Let me give you an example. Imagine you are at a coffee shop. The rate limiting is like manager is telling cashier, serve only 10 people every minute. So it's a control mechanism which limits the number of requests a user or system can make to a service like an API. On the other hand, token emitting is like the way barista makes coffee, pouring it out drop by drop. So in AI, particularly large language models, the output is not generated all at once. They are built token by token. A token being chunk of a text like a word or part of a word. So token emitting is the gradual output of a response. They sound similar, but they serve completely different purposes. One controls the access, the rate limiting, and other manages the output, the token emitting.
Great, that's a great analogy right there. So, Shaf, how does this impact the services such as ChatGPT and other APIs in general?
Good question. The rate limit is critical for stability and fairness. Imagine a million people hitting the ChatGPT or OpenAI API at the same time. The system could crash or may slow down dramatically. Different APIs have different rate limits. Some of them say that you can use 60 requests per minute or you can use up to 100,000 tokens per day. This ensures that few users don't hog all the computing power. For the developer point of view, rate limits help identify usage, optimize calls, and stay within quota limits, especially when we are making an app on top of OpenAI or Hugging Face. We are already seeing progress in this regard. The companies like Google and OpenAI are using dynamic rate limiting by utilizing the traffic patterns. On the other side, if we talk about the token streaming, we are seeing adaptive token streaming where the system can slow down, pauses, or generate on the fly. Also, newer architectures are being explored, such as parallel token generation, to speed up the things without compromising on output. I would say the future lies in intelligent orchestration, and it's an exciting opportunity to be in. Okay, let's shift to the Faizan. Can token emitting or rate limiting conflict with each other?
Yes, absolutely. So I'll try to explain this with an example. So let's say we have for a user we have a token limit of 100,000. So the user quota is 100,000, and now a user is at the end of its quota, and the user requests around an answer which is around 2,000 or 3,000 token long. Now, there two things can happen. Either the API outright rejects it, so that's the rate limiting part of it, or it can either truncate the response, which the response might not be of to the satisfaction of the user. So that's how these two things can conflict with each other. And to fix that, or to remedy that, or to let's say avoid this scenario, the developer has to define the proper or balance the proper prompt length and the expected output.
So Faizan, how should an AI engineer think about the rate limiting and token limiting when we are making Gen AI apps like in Mobiz? We are developing lots of Gen AI apps for our clients. So what do you think how rate limiting and token limiting impacts your day-to-day work?
Great question, Shaaf. So I'll try to tackle this question with the point of view of developers. So when you are developing applications, especially developers when they are in the development phase, what happens is that there are very few people testing the application. You have the developer testing it locally, you have the QAs, and you have some clients. So you do not usually run in the issue of rate limiting. But when the app goes to production, you have potentially thousands of people using the same application. There you have to be a little smart. You have to either put adaptive rate limits or you have to either cache the common queries, but you cannot just brute force it. You cannot just say, okay, more people are coming in, we will just increase the number of resources and the bill will be like through the roof. So we cannot do that. So here we have to do it, tackle it promptly and smartly.
Okay, now shifting to the other side, how does a language model emit tokens? And how do we handle the slow responses, or how do we make a perception like response is being generated very fast?
So to understand that, we will first have to understand how a language model operates basically and how it outputs responses. So a language model does not output a response all at once. So what happens is that there is an iterative process where it basically predicts the next token. So here the concept comes of tokenimity. So for example, there is a sentence called the cat sat on a. Obviously, when we know that the model will predict either a mat or something, the cat sat on a chair. So this is how it predicts the next token. So that's where we see the concept of token limiting. Now, this is basically our friend. So as we know that we are not waiting for the whole response at once, we can start streaming the response to the user. And this helps us in building applications which are user friendly and the user is not frustrated waiting for the response. Some responses can take like even a minute. So if you ask for a very long response, it can take a minute. But you would not have to wait for it because the token will keep coming in. So that's how token emitting helps us. That's how LLMs basically operate.
So what's the future here? What is the future of the rate limiting and token limiting? Like what other companies are doing in this regard?
Okay, so I'm going to use some terms which are going to be a bit overwhelming for our audience, but I'll explain them one by one. So first, I'll tackle the rate limiting thing. So we have something called dynamic rate limiting. In dynamic rate limiting, we actually dynamically adjust the number of messages a person can make. So if there is a lot of traffic, there is a lot of load on the servers, we can, for a little temporarily, a little moment, we can just say, okay, you were allowed 100 messages before, but you are allowed 50 messages right now because there is a lot of load there. But as the server space starts freeing up, we can actually increase this number. For token emitting, there is something called adaptive token emitting. Adaptive token emitting helps us in, you must have seen the DeepSeek model, right? So the DeepThink model of DeepSeek. What it does is that it's when you ask the question, it starts generating the answer. It pauses, it reflects on its answer, and sometimes it changes it if it thinks it's giving the wrong answer. So what's happening behind the scene? Now, as I mentioned that token emitting was our friend. It was helping us. How? When you are emitting tokens one by one, the model has time to think on the output it has produced, ponder upon it, and see whether the answer is going in the right direction or not. Now, adaptive token emitting helps us in pausing it, slowing down the slowing down the rate of token emitting, and that's how we can basically do complex thinking. And that's why deep think was very successful. It basically wiped off valuations of a lot of companies. So that's how this thing can help us. Now, there is one more thing, that is parallel token generation. As we know that the token generation is sequential. We have to wait for the previous word to get the next word. But there is something that the companies are working on, and it is parallel token generation, and it will, without compromising the integrity of the sequence, will generate tokens in parallel, which will make it much faster than before. So yeah, it's very exciting and we are looking forward to it.
I would say the future lies in intelligent orchestration, and it's an exciting space to be in. Thank you, Faizan.
Thank you everyone. This was our deep dive on rate limiting and token emitting. Hope you guys liked it and see you in the next one. Thank you.